Hey Mike, thanks for your videos. I'm really on board with using Vagrant, not so much with using Windows as a work machine, so it was really interesting to see what you were using with Cygwin down there. Today I want to talk to you about something that could save you up to 75% on your server costs, especially if you really dive into it and start using it on your projects, and that's serverless computing. I've been getting really excited recently about serverless computing, but I'm relatively late to the party, which is odd because this is really where I think that our business should be going. I remember in my younger days working in the supercomputing corner of our industry and watching how they'd eke out the last CPU cycles from bear moths. And then I remember going back further than that and looking after physical machines with web servers with Apache running on them, maybe using 10% CPU, and really thinking about how wasteful that is and how really we should be doing what they're doing with supercomputers with web servers. Well, obviously I just continued on with my career, but with VMs and cloud computing and containers and Google App Engine and now Lambdas, I mean, this is really something that people have been working on bringing into the mainstream. I really feel that serverless computing is where the cloud has been going all these years, really coming back full circle to a world where you write the code and you let someone else worry about where that's going to be run. That sounds really scary for operations engineers like us, but it really needn't be. You need us in that world. We needed to sort out security and networking and sizing and architecture. Really, these are things that in bigger projects would actually have their own experts within cross-functional teams working with the programmers, who of course are experts in programming. But in smaller teams and actually in most companies, as you well know, those kind of things really fall on the old sysadmins, people like us, operations engineers. So if you're from the ops side of the DevOps yin yang, then I really recommend that you dive in and check this out. And I've put together some of my own clunky code in a Lambda to try it out.
Okay, so this is my playlist script I wrote 2 years ago. It's been running on a $5 DigitalOcean server, which is pretty cheap, but we want to make it cheaper. So this is the script. As you can see, it's pretty simple, only a single file. We need a function within our script that Lambda can use as a handler. It's worth noting that Lambda won't run your Python script. It will run a function within that script. We can tell it to run our main function, but as you can see, we pass in variables at the command line. Obviously, that's not going to work. Instead, Lambda events, triggers, can provide JSON into the Lambda, which we can interpret. So we're going to write a function called handler, put these variables in, and then use it to kick off the main function. Okay, so that's our handler, and we're pretty much ready to go at this point. We need to package this up first, and that's a simple zip file. So we're going to go ahead, move over to the terminal and zip that up alongside all of the requirements necessary. Now it's worth noting that, of course, running a pip install as part of your Lambda function is going to waste precious time. So we really want to package up any requirements ahead of time. I've created a requirements file. We're going to install those requirements to that directory. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and zip it all up. Okay, and now onto AWS. We're going to select Lambda, create a Lambda function. You can use blueprints here. They have many blueprints for different things. We're going to skip that because we already have it. We're not going to configure a trigger at this point. It's worth noting triggers are how Lambda functions are started. If you want them to be started automatically, which you do, the easiest one is Cloud Event Schedule. That's your basic cron job style things. But of course, Lambda is much more powerful than that. You can have triggers as S3 or Kinesis or SNS messages. But we're going to leave that blank for the moment. Call our function name, my cool function. Tell it that it's a Python function. Upload our zip file. Tell it the name of the function. And of course, we called our handler simply handler. We can choose a new role from template here. We don't really need any permissions here, so we're just going to call it my cool role. Not give it any policy templates. We don't need any extra memory here. We're going to give the timeout 30 seconds just to be sure. Click next and create a function. At this point we can test. As I said earlier, when you run Lambdas, you provide it with a JSON document that it will use. In this case, our JSON document will include the username, a password, and a BBC station. This replaces the need for arguments on the command line. And there we can see the Lambda has completed. So yeah, that's Lambda. So I really recommend you get more into serverless architecture. I have provided a longer post on my blog, james.bellchamber.com, which also introduces KMS and allows us to store our secrets because, as you could see, I was using password in plain text there. You're welcome to check out the code, which is more feature complete, on my GitHub account. And I'd 100% recommend going along to Serverless Conf, October 26th to the 28th in central London. I'll be there. So if you're going to be there, then let me know. And Mike, I will see you next week.
and that's serverless computing, and particularly Amazon's Lambda service.